Before going into the topic details, I want to bring your attention to the UPSC coaching programs offered by ClearIAS. ClearIAS offers online and offline courses to help candidates get selected for prestigious government services like IAS, IPS, or IFS. ClearIAS, Prelims cum Mains, PCM course, provides a highly effective study plan, well-organized subject-wise videos, study materials, mock exams, and guidance to cover the entire GS syllabus of UPSC CSE prelims, mains, and interview systematically. As a limited period offer, there is a 40% discount on our online courses. Enroll now.
So why we are actually talking about the work-life balance is actually because of this incident in which one woman had to die because of their work stress. That was actually after her death only. Her mom actually told to the media. She wrote a detailed letter to the chairman of that particular company and to the media also that it was because of the work stress she had to die. And we have one name for that. That is actually called as hustle culture. That word is actually extensively debated. Hustle culture is actually debated because she was only 26 years old girl and working in Pune, and that kind of excessive work culture was definitely toxic. It was they were actually proper corporate kind of world, and it was a toxic culture, of course. And finally, she succumbed to her, fatigueness. So we understand what are the basic features because this is a huge GS4 topic. It can be also asked in the GS1 paper also regarding the characters of Indian society, how they are actually working. In the GS4, different values, how we have to work, how to imbibe values in a work culture. And in GS paper 3 also, certain aspects of GS paper 3. Basically, in all the papers, you will find certain kind of things where we can apply this particular incident. Now, according to the International Labour Organization, which is a UN specialized agency, they are actually suggesting that Indians are actually an overworked society, overworked economy. That is what the Labour Organization is suggesting. So they're saying is that Indians are also overworking. That is what the Labour Organization is actually suggesting. And when we talk about the work culture, we are talking about work culture, right? So what is a work culture? It is actually all about the employee behavior, how my colleagues are actually behaving, are they actually cooperating, we are good with each other, how we are actually behaving, what are the amenities in the organization actually, what are the organizational policies, how is the leadership behaviors, how the different how my different colleagues are actually showing leadership opportunities, or they're simply working there. So all these come together to give a work culture. There are certain companies in India, large companies in India, they're actually offering huge, better work culture. There are definitely certain companies which are not very famous, which are infamous for their bad, toxic work culture also. So, the ultimate aim is to make a healthy work culture. That is the point. And so that my aim, my individual aim, my professional aim will align with that of the goal of the company. If that actually aligning, that is good for the company also, good for the person also. So that is good for the employee also. That is the point which they are saying. And according to the International Labour Organization, what they are actually saying is that an average Indian is actually working for around 46 hours per week. So every Indian, like we said in the periodic labor force survey, around 60% are employed, etc. So an average Indian is actually working for around close to 46.7 hours a week. That is what the report is suggesting. And India is actually not in the top region. India, one of the largest countries is actually Bhutan, then UAE, Lesotho, Congo, etc. India is actually ranked somewhere in the 13th. And the 13th place in India, an average work hours is per week is actually 46.7. And in Bhutan, it is said that one person actually works for somewhere close to 55 hours per week. That is the report that is suggested by the ILO. And if you're working that much number of hours, what is actually going to happen? It is going to happen burnouts. That is, you'll get fatigued, you'll get tired. So if you are actually, you must be having some cousins, friends in the Western nations where they will be working in Europe, US, etc., Canada, etc. If you ask them, Indians will be completely ashamed and shocked because they don't have to work on Saturdays, they don't have to work on Sundays maybe, and they will never call you after 5 o'clock in the evening. They will never call you before 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning also. So before and after your offices, they'll never contact you. If they contact you after 5 p.m. or something like that, they will first tell you, okay, I'm extremely sorry. Even if it is your colleague, even if it is your junior, even if it is your senior also, even if it is your boss, he will first apologize to you. That is, I'm extremely sorry for disturbing you after 5 p.m. because it is not your office time. Then only that particular, if only they'll ask for permission. If only you say that, okay, I'm okay, then only they'll discuss the matter. That kind of work culture is there. And there are certain countries, for example, Germany, etc. There is actually a mandatory 1 month of leave, vacation. It is not a leave, it is a mandatory 1 month vacation. And the employer, the boss, the manager, etc., he has to ensure that the person is actually taking that 1 month vacation. Just imagine a situation. Is that possible in India? So what kind of work culture we are actually focusing? We are running behind things. So what that kind of things are actually resulting in these kind of incidents also. I'm not saying that is good, this is good, etc. But just like Sir Mr. Narayan has said, 70 hours of work per week of working. Just imagine they're actually having 55, 4.5. We have classified them as number one. That itself actually causing about some kind of burnout. So just imagine 70 hours of work. So don't we need that kind of our own body, our own mind needs certain kind of activities, rest, recreation. Then only we can get that energy back. Then only there is actually what do you say? Things will be going very smoothly. If you're totally complete working, etc., that is not going to work. That is the ultimate thing. So that is what the International Labour Organization is also suggesting. And there are certain kinds of positive work culture. We'll end by saying the two different things, the positive work culture and negative work culture, because this will be extremely important maybe in the next year's mains or maybe in the prelims also. So what can contribute certain kind of positive work cultures, right? So this was actually compiled using certain kinds of ILO reports and all. So when there is a positive work culture, what means that there will be definitely be better hiring, so that people will be more interested to go to that firm, right? People will be more interested to work in Oracle than working in the some other kind. I don't want to say different names, etc. Certain other companies, because they'll have better work culture. You can go work there easily. So better people will come to better companies. The second thing is actually the satisfaction, not just of the employee, but just of the employer also. Both the boss and the subordinate, all those people will be happy because all their aims will be aligned with the aim of the company itself. And then the employee retention rate. It is, you must have noticed that certain companies will have certain large employee retention rate. Certain companies will not be having that much of rate because people will not be satisfied. They just leave it. So there will be people who will not be working in that particular company for 3 months, 4 months. They'll simply go out because they don't want to work there anymore. But certain companies, they will be working there for years and years because they are almost happy. They're satisfied. They'll be paid good. And according to the performance, they'll be getting that kind of bonuses also. Salary will be hiked properly. Those kind of cordial situations will be there. And in that situation, the long term, there will be proper reputation for that firm. So that is the end result. In the long term, it will be so much sustainable if you have a positive work culture, if you have proper acknowledgements, if you have proper things, if you have proper coordination among your people, then there will be better work culture. It will ultimately result in better reputation of your firm in the long term. So that is the point which they are actually saying. And then last but not the least, the last slide we have to mention is about the negative work culture also, because toxic work culture, that is the word different journals and reports are actually using, the toxic work culture. So what about the toxic work culture? What happens in a toxic work culture? That is also actually debated while dealing with the GS4 paper and GS2 also. And some parts of the GS1, when we discuss about the characters of the Indian society, how the Indian society is working, there also we can bring about certain attributes like that. So what are the attributes of a negative or a toxic work culture? One thing is actually lack of recognition. If you are working very hard, but when people say that, okay, this is not your credit, this is our credit, that kind of lack of accreditation or lack of acknowledgement may result in toxic work culture. We may not want to work there honestly after that. So then unethical work culture also. Just give them some kind of service that is absolutely okay, or just make some kind of products so the clients will be comparatively okay. Don't worry about the long-term things and all. That is unethical work culture. In the long term, that is also counterproductive. It may give you immediate gains, but not in the long term. And the non-inclusiveness. For example, if the business is actually, of the company is actually avoiding certain kinds of, for example, LGBTQ community, certain kinds of communities, etc. If you are actually not, if only all the people are actually male, all the employees are actually male, there is no woman. So there is no diversity at all. So that may contribute to non-inclusiveness of the particular company. That also may result in toxic work culture situations. And then there is one word also, that is there is this no breaks and seasonal holiday. That is just like I said, in Germany and in Europe also, 1 month of vacation is there. But there are the word which the West is actually using against Indians is the Indians are, the word, I'll just say the word, that is corporate donkeys. That is the word they're actually using. That is, you don't want a holiday, you don't want any, leave or off or anything. You don't want any entertainment, no recreation at all. Keep on working. We use the word workaholic in a positive sense. In the negative word, which for the very same people is corporate donkeys, because they're simply working. They don't have the courage to ask the seniors or the corporate field, the bosses, that I need certain kind of rest. I need a vacation. I need time to spend with my family, etc. They may not have the courage. Ultimately, they'll end up as corporate donkeys, those people who are working without any breaks. One of the reasons is because, just like the case of this woman, this 26-year-old lady, is that she may not be having that courage to ask. She's only 26. She's a chartered accountant. She just entered a job. So in that 3 months, she had to suffer so much because that kind of work culture was there. Late night also, they'll call and ask her to do certain kind of jobs. So she may not be that much having that much courage to ask the job, the boss also. That kind of things are also there. And also, if they're working, if they're getting paid, it is fine. But the extra point is they are working overtime, but still they are getting underpaid. That is the point when they say that, when we call them corporate donkeys. And the next thing is that there is actually the blame culture also. Just like that, whenever there is there is a group like that, if one thing is actually not going good, you may get the blame. That is actually widely happening in the corporate culture. So if some good thing is actually happening, the entire group may take the credit, or the boss may take the credit, but something is going wrong, you will get the blame. That is one another issue in a toxic point, where that ultimately will lead to burnouts, we can say. And next thing is actually about the micromanagement. You know what I mean by micromanagement? That is, there are certain sections in which a large company actually works. So it will be divided into certain modules. One group of people will be doing one project, one people will be focused on HR, some other people will be focused on technologies, etc., like that. But what if the company owner actually goes for micromanagement? What is actually happening in everywhere? What are you doing? What are you doing? What if such a thing happens, which means that there is no space for creativity at all? So they'll be ultimately controlled by one person. That one person decision will ultimately be implemented in the region. So no persons will be able to implement their own ideas, etc., which means that ultimately in the long term, it is actually one person's view. That is the point in issue with the micromanagement. And the next thing is about the discrimination. Just like the non-inclusiveness, what if the company is actually discriminating against for example, the religions? Only certain religion people are actually hired, or maybe some higher caste people are hired, not the lower caste people. So, or maybe the woman, only the men are hired, no woman, because woman has to go for pregnancy leave. So there can be issues like that. So only hired men. So these kind of preferences when come, there will be discrimination. In the long term, the reputation is actually lost. And the last thing is actually about the unrealistic expectations. Why? Because when the company says that in the next year we have to get 1,000 crores of turnover, the company will be just 1 crore turnover right now, and they have to work for 1,000 crore turnover. It is actually unrealistic. You can get there in maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years, but not just in 1 year. That is the point. So if somebody asks like that, if a condition is set from the higher hierarchies, definitely the lower hierarchy, all the people working on the ground, they have to work hard. They will definitely never be able to achieve it in that short duration, which may be unrealistic. Ultimately, it will lead to maybe somebody will resign, or somebody will go out of the system, and they'll give galis to them. They'll give backfires to all negative reviews to them. That is the thing which is actually happening. So that is the point. Ultimately, unrealistic expectations gives toxic positivity. Have you ever heard the toxic positivity? That is also widely debated recently. The word toxic positivity is also very bad. You can spread positivity, yes, but you cannot be toxically positive. You cannot simply say that, like Mr. Narayan Muthu, you can simply say that you have to work 70 hours, that will be bringing good salary to you. Okay. Then I'll start working for 70 hours, 2 months I'll be in hospital. So that kind of thing should not be happening. So that is toxic positivity. Like, for example, the SEBI, the SEBI employees recently filed a complaint, I guess, to the RBI or some kind of Supreme Court or something like that. They complained that the SEBI officers and employees complained that the higher officers are actually getting too much toxic. They're not getting proper work environment, etc. So that actually happened very recently on this. So they were talking about that is actually in the public sector, the SEBI. So they were actually complaining about the work culture. So these kind of things are actually happening, and this was one of the negative result of what actually happened. The demise of the extremely hardworking, talented 26-year-old girl in Pune. So this is our topic, and make sure that these kind of topics you may need, you won't get too much of topics or points to write down, but these things will be your brain. These things will have to be in your mind. So you will also have 10 more points or 100 more points about these kind of topics. So when such a question comes about a work culture, something like that, include your extra points, include your own thoughts also in the paper. If you have a quote, use that. If you have a small story, use that. So that is how you write GS4 answers.